If you guys are tuning in, man, just hi. It's been a while. Behind the Call Out has been just like in the archives for a very long time, and it's finally time to bring it back up. And to bring it back up, might as well bring it up with brand new hosts, brand new credits, brand new everything. So just keep the brand new name. Like we're gonna keep the name obviously old, but make it feel like a new brand. So obviously the one talking to you right now, it is Monkey, and of course with my lovely host that you guys probably heard us cast a whole bunch of times. If you guys haven't, we pretty much cast for Collective. So obviously this podcast is for the Collective, and yeah, my co-host
Oh
is going to
God, I
be a
thought this was
Loopy.
for New York. I thought this was
Oh
for
damn,
New
damn it,
York.
damn it, damn it.
No, but yeah, I'm Loopy. Hi, everyone. Many of you recognize me from casting. I do know that because I periodically keep getting like, "Oh wow, Loopy's hosting," and like there's mix there and whatever. So always the love always makes me feel really appreciated and makes it known that I'm loved. So thank you all for that. I want to get that out there first.
And I bet they appreciate that as well. And one of the biggest things, guys, just for people that are listening and are probably just new, like just go on anything of their Spotify or whatever, YouTube or anything like that, guys. Just want to let you guys know what we do and who we are, pretty much. And one of the biggest things is that yes, we are a Rainbow Six Siege community. That's what we are. We're branching out to different, PC, console, all that stuff, man. But right now, we originated on Xbox, and that's one of the biggest things that we're going to be discussing, and that's one of the biggest things that we're going to be managing on behind the call out. And yeah, a lot of people are not going to be probably paying attention to Xbox stuff because everybody's like, hey, it's PC this, PC that, but everybody got to remember, like, hey, Rainbow Six Siege started on Xbox, and we're trying to bring that back to Siege, and we haven't given up on it. We have an amazing community. Again, it's the Collective. So if you guys want to look at it, it's literally Collective_Esports, like everywhere, literally everywhere. And I don't know if we have a Facebook, but we have probably Facebook, we have YouTube, Twitter. We're everywhere, guys. We try our best to try to entertain as much as people out there as possible. We mainly stream on Twitch though, and it's been a blast. This is right now about to be our season 3 pretty soon. We've been around for a while, so if you're gonna check it out again, Collective_Esports or just Collective Esports on YouTube, you guys can look at everything we have there. Our little miniature archives there to keep you guys informed what we do. Um, but
So, I mean, you said we were on season 3, but I also think it's worth saying that we've also had 2 individual summer cups last year,
yeah,
which are
that's
not
true.
seasons. They were just more traditional tournament style. So we have a ton of games out there if you want to watch them. Teams come and go. I think the oldest team and the only original team still in collective is Farside, and that is my friend here's team. So there's that. Uh, you also will probably, looking through the archives, realize that both me and Monkey are very, very old members here. We've been, from here for a really, really long time. So we've been casting for a long time. So you'll hear our voices everywhere if you're new. Going back to the archives, you'll hear our voices everywhere. But we're here and we're gonna do, and now we're hosting this. We're bringing back something old, making it new again, and with us, sort of some of the more well-known voices in collective. And so that is the plan here.
Yeah, no, it is definitely the plan. That's what it is, and I feel like the best way to bring this back from the archives is to bring back some old guys. That's what it is. It's just bring back some old voices. And of course, just to give you guys a little gist of this podcast can be about. It's literally, again, it's called Behind the Call Out. So being behind the call out, meaning pretty much I'm going to give you guys anything. Me and Loopy are going to pretty much bring you guys behind the scenes of everything that's happening in collective. It can be between matches. It can be what's going on in the standings. Literally anything that's happening in Rainbow Six Siege as well, patches wise, updates, anything that's just Rainbow Six community. Again, we're going to be doing this literally. If of course Loopy's up for it, we're going to be doing this every week. Every week, this is going to be coming out. We're going to try our best to record as much as possible for you guys and release them every Tuesday. So I definitely can't wait for it to reach you guys, and hopefully you guys keep staying tuned for every episode that we release. We're gonna try our best. Again, this is just we're about to hop into like another mini event. It's the collective qualifiers. Once the collective qualifier ends, we're gonna go straight into season 3, and again, all these episodes are gonna keep going. We're not gonna stop. It's just gonna keep on going. Hopefully, the goal is to go into episode like 50 and have a whole anniversary that day. Who knows? But um, it's definitely going to be a journey, and I hope you guys stay tuned for that journey.
And like you said, we're going to be bringing on different people and whatever. So you definitely want to keep in, and you definitely want to keep in as the season progresses and whatnot. We have some pretty cool special guests that I won't name any coming in the future at some point, but we'll be talking to IGLs of certain teams. If a team's on a hot streak, then we'll definitely make sure we get an episode in with the IGL of that team. We are going to take you guys behind the teams. We're going to take you guys behind the scenes completely. We're going to bring in admins here and there. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, me and Monkey are both actually admins. We are actually both admins, but we will be bringing back some other admins into this to try to give you guys not only just behind the scenes of what's happening with each team but behind the scenes of what's happening in collective as a whole. Keep you guys updated.
Yeah, and it's going to be a blast. I know every time we go behind the scenes of every team, it's always just an amazing memory, an amazing trip that they have to go to. And when it comes to the admins, the same thing. Most of the admins here are literally players, literally coaches, IGLs. There's a lot of admins are like
Casters.
casters. Some of them are casters as well, and they all have a journey. They've all traveled pretty far to get here, and we can't wait to just explore their adventure together. But enough of the rambling about talking about IGLs and stuff like that. Um, let's jump on to the first topic. Let's definitely jump on to how the collective qualifiers is finally going to go to, because I feel like that's one of the biggest things that when this releases, the collective qualifiers is going to be already in the process of week 1, probably. Maybe a map or two have been played already. So we're going to run you down of pretty much the bracket, how the qualifiers are going to work, any rules that are a little different from Pro League. We're going to probably talk about all these stuff. So let's, Loopy, if you want to start off, you can go ahead, buddy.
Well, so I definitely think the first thing we need to talk about is casting because everyone loves to watch the games in general. And I just want to get this out there as soon as possible. Qualifiers, I believe it was rounds 1 through 3 that will not be casted. They will not be anywhere. If teams individually would like to cast them from their perspectives, they have been told that they are allowed to do so. But from the perspective of collective as a whole, they will not be casted. That being said, they are all going to be best of ones, and the moment we get into round 4, they'll start becoming best of threes, and they absolutely will be casted right on our Twitch. So if you're new here, go to Twitch, Collective. This one is going to be on Alpha, I believe, because we do have multiple channels for, like we alluded to, we do have PC and other platforms and whatnot, but Xbox, which is definitely going to be the focus of this, is going to be on Alpha. And those games will definitely be exciting because first place gets full free entry into Masters. So just similar to Pro League in general, we have 2 separate leagues. We have the Masters League and the Ventures League. Masters is definitely where teams want to be. Those are the big teams. Those are the big names, the best teams we have in collective competing for the bigger prize. Those games are definitely, so that is the goal of qualifiers, is you really, really want to get that Masters position. And I think it's first, second, and third all get into Masters, so got to be on the lookout for that. Like I said, that's the moment we hit the 4th round, they will be casted and be best of threes. So these will be very intense matches, very fun matches, and definitely want to check them out. That's the first thing that I definitely want to get out there.
Yeah, no, that is the one of the biggest topics as well, is because when you're watching these games, or excuse me, listening and finding out what was the score of these matches. Of course, guys, when it comes to these scores, yes, they're not going to be streamed, but if you guys will be following all of our social media, we will be posting every single score there on the social media as well. Of course, when the podcast comes out later on, we'll be also uploading a new podcast, and that'll be exactly going back into the standings, who won the bracket, who did this. And one of the biggest things you guys also learn about the bracket as well is that the bracket is based off of a single elimination. Of course, this is going to be a free collective qualifying league. It's literally, I told you, a little mini event just to see who can make it to Masters, make it to Avengers, and it is going to be a single elimination. Of course, the teams that do not make it and do get eliminated first round, of course, we're not going to look down on them and say like, yeah, they're definitely going Avengers, but it's just to see who was the best of the best, who could compete against the finals championship. Who won the championship last season. Of course, to give you guys that update, yes, it was to win the Masters. It was what's it called? Devise Gaming that
Yeah.
won the Masters, and then for Ventures it was Dark Vortex, if I'm correct. They're the ones
Yes.
that won the Ventures. Those two teams, they're going to be moving on regardless to Masters, and we want to make sure if these new guys are going to be coming in and playing in these qualifiers, we want to make sure that these guys can probably compete with them. We want everything to be as fair as possible, and we want to give a competition, of course, to multiple teams, and that's one of the biggest things that we're going to be seeing when it comes to first and second and third place. That's why that luxury of giving these guys like, hey, if you win, there's a lot of things like, yeah, of course you're not going to get money just yet. But if you win, you get free entry, so you don't have to wait. You don't have to spend a dime. You literally come in here. You're playing to win money, as the prize pool will be out later on in the future. You're literally coming in for free. If you win, you're walking away with money. Come on now.
I mean,
And then
you can't get much
no,
better than that. You really
you can't. And then second place, when you're coming in second place, yeah, I understand you're not getting free entry. That I know that sucks, but at the same time, you're getting 15% off, and 15% off is pretty high up there, especially if it's like, hey, $25 entry, maybe 30%. Yeah, who knows? $30 entry, who knows? And 15% off of that is going to be pretty much a high margin, especially if let's say you're making all of your players, let's say, pitch in. Come on, everybody's literally paying like $5 probably to pretty much to play. So that's going to be an awesome as well. And then at the same time, we don't want to shy away from third place as well, because yes, third place is going to be guaranteed into Masters as well. But
I was about to say that because the third place gets honestly probably one of the most unique prizes on the list.
yes,
It's not
yes,
just a discount or free entry or whatever, but they get to pick who they face in the first week of their division.
yeah,
Now, when we
and
say divisions, once again, if you're new, we have two. We have a national conference and an American conference. I believe those are what they're called. Correct me if I'm wrong.
it might be different. Might be different. Might have
Okay,
divisions
well,
this time. Might have conferences. Who knows?
whatever. But the point
Still a
is that
secret.
there are two groups of teams that play each other, and they don't mix until we get into playoffs. They don't start to mix until we get into playoffs. So as long as it is in your division as the third place winner, you do actually get to pick who you play in that first round. Which I think, like I said, it's nothing crazy. It's not free entry. It's not, a reduced entry or anything like that. But it's still a very big talking point. Who does this team pick? Are they going to try to get one of the veteran teams? Like if they pick hypothetically Devise, get the last league champion out of their way, play him in week one, so it doesn't really affect their standings too much. It's only the first week, and then try to later on in the season build up and sort of be like, okay, we got that what they assume to be an immediate loss out of the way, or are they going to try, to get an early lead and pick a team that they think, oh, we can definitely beat them and get that leg up early. It's going to be a little bit of an interesting decision because there are several ways that you can take who you pick that first week. There's many different ways you can think about that.
Yeah, I actually love that you actually went into deep detail with that because of the fact that that's what it is. That's the one when I made that. That's what I was thinking about the whole entire time. I was like, hey, if I was an IGL of the team, which obviously I am, but if um if I was the IGL of a team, I would love to probably go against like one of the best of the best, so I can get them out of the way. Or if I think, hey, I can beat the rest of my division, let me just get the easiest people out of the way. Let me just deal with that, or you know what I mean. So it's actually pretty cool. And I can't wait to see how it plays out. I definitely can't wait to see how it plays out for sure. But jumping into the next topic, of course, with the bracket and stuff like that, going into that, we want to also mention of how many teams are participating. Okay, so everybody knows what we're talking about. I want to make sure that everybody understands what's going on and what we're looking at. So at the moment, I put out the form just to see how many teams form up. I thought I was looking for like maybe like 10, 12 teams, 8 teams probably signed up, and within a week, literally, it was 21 teams that signed up, which is phenomenal. seeing all
Hey,
these
more
teams.
competition.
Yeah, no, I said it too. I was like, listen, more people sign up, the better. It's gonna be longer playing time, and it's gonna be so much more action for everybody that's just watching and tuning in. And they definitely the standard went up, and they definitely showed up. And 21 teams, 21 teams. Some of these teams are brand new. Some of these teams have brand new names, but with very familiar players. Or some of these teams are very back in the day, very old, and just were like playing in Avengers League, and they're like, hey, we want a chance to go to Masters. And again, in a free tournament, this is the best way. This is the best way to go to Masters. This is to show your talent. This is the showcase. Like, hey, yes, last season we weren't the best, but now this season, this little event is going to show what we can bring to season 3, and
I was about
that's
to
what you
say that.
want.
I think the other thing about these qualifiers, especially once we hit that fourth round and these games start becoming best of threes and casted and whatever, is I think that's a great time for these teams to sort of come out the gate swinging and be like, hey, I know, maybe last season we didn't have the best record or whatever, but in the off season we've been practicing, and then they come out swinging in that opening qualifier game, and they get that 14-0 or something crazy like that, and all of a sudden the other teams are kind of looking at them like, hold on, they might be a problem. And that is, I think, a beauty of these qualifiers is that people are they're fighting for their position right now in Masters. They need to prove that they belong there, so they're going to be playing their best. They're going to be trying their hardest. They're going to be pulling out things that maybe we've never seen before. Because I mean, I remember playoffs this past season of season 2. Playoffs got weird at times. Like people were pulling out strategies that I've never seen before, and just some of them you look at the strategy and you're sort of like, okay, hold on. I could figure out how to. I know, like looking back, you're like, okay, that's an easy strategy to counter, but it's so weird and so new and so out of the box that teams were caught off guard. And those are the kinds of strategies that, yeah, they worked only one time, but hey, they gave you that round leg up. And maybe that's what brought you to the, winning. And teams are going to see that in the qualifiers and they're going to be like, look at that team. Look how innovative they are. Look how well they think and how different they play. We can't treat this team like every other team. And I think these qualifiers are a great place to distinguish yourself or your team in that way.
Yeah, that's definitely the best way to see it. And it's going to be amazing just to see these things. And again, we're recording this right now. It's Friday. It's the 1st of May, like literally the 1st of May. So it's the perfect time to record this. Come on now. And of course, it hopefully reaches you guys by Tuesday. And when it reaches you guys on Tuesday, again, like I said, the start date of this whole bracket is going to be the 4th. So that's literally, I think, the Monday that comes next week. So
Star Wars Day.
so literally when it drops, I already know that teams are going to be playing. I've already seen it before. The teams are already like asked to play literally on the day it starts. So when it comes out, who knows who moves on by now? Who moves on by then? Excuse me. So sadly, you guys are going to have to wait until next Tuesday for us on the podcast to literally tell you any updates that happen. But again, make sure you guys are following that social media because that's what's going to keep you guys updated the most and the most possible way, positive. Um, but you know, the biggest thing I want to talk about right now, that's we're gonna jump on to the next thing is the bracket itself. We want to talk about these teams that were just displayed, and we just like I just told you guys, 21 teams. So putting 21 teams onto a bracket is phenomenal. So what we did is I cut the bracket into two. So hopefully on your screens you should be seeing it or have been seeing it already, to be honest. But the first bracket you're going to be seeing literally, I think it's three teams that have to wait for the first round to get over with, and I think that is going to be Prime Elite, Reborn, Reborn, and that is going to be Fallen. Yeah, Fallen Pharaohs. That's going to be literally the three teams are going to be waiting for the first rounders to get over with, and when making this bracket, one of the biggest things you have to notice is that one, there's a lot of teams, and two, it's just when you're waiting for that first competition, it that can also help you. So let's use Prime Elite for example. Prime Elite, yes, it's not going to be streamed and watching their that Witch Doctor game, but you might hear about it, you might get a screenshot about it, or maybe one of them streams and you want to maybe hop onto that stream and see what's up and what you got to deal with, and you know seeing the competition that you have to face is something that gives you a big leg jump up. And you know again, using Prime Elite can also use that to their advantage, especially when it comes to banning maps, because maybe they'll see that that let's say Witch Doctor Gaming takes over the game, and Witch Doctor Game takes them like 7-2 on Villa or something like that. Now probably will probably one want to take them on Villa because maybe they have a good VODs on them. Or they know that warning, like, hey, okay, these guys are really, really monsters on Villa. Let's not take them there. Let's back out of there. Um, so that's definitely one of the biggest things you need to also just remember when you come into this bracket, and just waiting on for that that week 1 finish off pretty much. And then Loopy, you can go ahead and start talking about bracket number 2.
So the first thing I want to say about these brackets in general,
Yeah,
these
go ahead.
21 teams, that does not split evenly any way you slice it, not even by two. So these teams that are getting a bye week or whatever that we are talking about, which is so influential, were random. There was no distinguishing qualities between teams of who got a bye week and who didn't. It's just they got a bye week because they got lucky on a dice roll, basically. I do want to say that so that there's not any feeling like so we don't there's no feeling like, oh, why did this team get a bye week but this team didn't and whatever. It's not relevant. It's
Oh
just a
yeah, yeah. No, again, I'm the one that made the bracket, and I can literally tell you myself, it's literally a dice roll. I put these beautiful names onto my beautiful website and a beautiful app that I use, and literally what it was, I was like, hey, let's randomize this and make it fair as possible. And when I randomized it, I was like, okay, this works. This looks awesome. Let's do it. We're not going to go around it. These teams, when I looked at them, I personally know some of these teams. So when I actually looked into who's going against each other, I was like, yeah, these teams are so even. There's nothing that's going to be lopsided from this. It's going to be good. It's really going to be good, and I can't wait because when somebody gets eliminated, it's not going to be a 7-0. Like I don't see that. I literally see them going to the mile and going 7-5, 7-4, or even overtime. And again, yes, this is a single elimination. This is a tournament bracket, so yes, there is going to be overtime, double overtime, all that stuff. There is going to be overtime for sure, but it is going to be just a double overtime, so first to 8, pretty much. Not going to go into infinite. We definitely don't want to do that just yet.
no infinite overtime is definitely saved for those big matches.
Oh,
But
yes.
but moving on to that second bracket, there are definitely a lot of games that a lot of names on there that are just really good. I don't recognize all of them because, like you said, a lot of new teams are coming in. And I more recognize a lot of the game teams from last year, but one of the teams that I do recognize the most is MMG Void. MMG Void is definitely one of the stronger teams that I remember casting. They always seem to be working really well together. They never seemed too I'm trying how do you say this? Too out of sync. They never seemed too out of sync. Like someone moved left, it always sort of felt like there was either a call behind it or just that natural synergy of why they moved left. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but they just had that real solid foundation, and I'm really excited to see how that pans out. I think they're definitely going to be one of the harder teams to overcome because of that. But there are many other teams, and MMG Void is one of those teams that sort of got, depending on how you look at it, the unlucky dice roll of having to play in round one. They do not get the bye. The two teams that got a complete bye are Hazard Gaming and Delta Esports on this side of the bracket. Um, they were the ones who got a complete bye week. They have to wait for round one to even know who their opponent is. But on the other side, yes, don't get me wrong, it's an advantage to get that bye week because maybe you get a little bit more information on your opponent, but at the same time, you're not playing. I mean, you're probably scrimming and whatever, but anyone who can tell you, even a scrim against one of the best teams in the league is nothing compared to when the pressure's on and your blood starts boiling, and it comes down to that 2-second clutch, that 1v2 clutch in the 15th round. Like nothing prepares you for those types of moments. Nothing does, like the heat of actual competition. No matter how many times you scrim, no matter how many times you practice, when just pure instincts take over. And that kind of momentum, like if you come off of a win in that 15th round where someone got a 1v3 or something clutch to bring your team to the next round, you can carry that momentum into the next week. And that momentum might be out. That momentum might be out a team that's practiced more, a team that might have a little bit more like pristine and snappy fundamentals that just sheer game adrenaline. that only can be bred by competition. And having a bye week, you don't get that. So yes, you gain information on your team, but there is a little bit of a give and take. So a team like MMG Void that just plays so well together, I probably say for them specifically, it's probably an advantage that they get to play another week. They get to have that momentum build. They have that momentum build. Another team that doesn't have a bye is Lunar Esports. Lunar Esports is definitely a little bit more of a slower paced team, if I remember correctly. It's been a while, guys. Pardon me. They are a little bit of a slower paced team. So, once again, that competition might help them round out their strats. As long as they can pull out and win, they might go back to the drawing board and totally change everything. So, that information that Delta would have on Lunar might become irrelevant by the next week. Okay, we watched the stream of them playing on Villa. Okay, well, maybe next they say, okay, I think we can take them on Villa. You pick Villa, and all of a sudden you're playing what feels like a different team. And I definitely think that that's another thing that going into it, you can't just look and be like, oh, they played Villa this way. No, they're not going to play Villa the dead same way. They're not going to. No pristine team is going to use the same strategies time and time and time again. They might be similar, but they're not going to be dead same. Just sort of the fluidity of Siege will see to that. Just someone dies in a good place or a bad place, a diffuser is dropped in the wrong place, and they just build off of the momentum of that. These are things that you can't predict. These are things that you can't control. These are things that just happen in what is the fluidity of this game we all play. And so I'm definitely excited to see how these brackets work out.
Yeah, and that's that is just well put. There's nothing else you can say, man. And the way that you explained it is the way that I envisioned, this bracket to go. And definitely applaud you on that. And that's what's going to happen with these brackets, man. It's just going to be a phenomenal, you know, train of events you want to go to. You want to say it like that, just because of the way that it can definitely lay itself on. Because as soon as week 1, week 2, and week 3 are over with, and the BO3 start happening, it's literally based on durability now. It's going to be based on how long you can manage with these teams, and you know. It's not, obviously for this tournament, we're not going to be doing BO5s because, that's just something that we're not going to be doing until like maybe the season 3, obviously. But for these BO3s, there's something that you definitely want to look forward to, something that you definitely want to watch. And, we saved these BO3s for the last just because the fact that we wanted to make sure that, hey, it's the best for last. We want to make sure that, hey, if these teams are really going to make it to Masters, they really got to show us of how long they can manage to show off their talents, not just slow off of one, play it phenomenal one map and then slow down map 2. No, they're gonna keep it going. They're gonna keep on going map 2, map 3, and map 2 all the way to map 3. um, and it's going to be something that's going to be also amazing to watch because some of these teams are literally brand new to Collective, and we're just seeing how much new talent we picked up just off of one season, because season 2 was a phenomenal season. It went so well in a way that teams were ready to go against each other. The brackets were not even the brackets, the standings, excuse me, the standings were phenomenal, and how close teams had to fight for that, just like the top 3. Like, you
I'm
should
gonna
have
say I
seen
don't think
it.
there was any one team that really kind of just ran away with it.
No, no, definitely not. Like, I remember back in like season 1, I remember like Prevail was like unstoppable. Like, they were not getting touched at all, you know. And I think same thing with F6, because F6 back in the day of like season 1 days, like those guys
They ended up
again.
seven. They went 7 games in a row before suffering their first loss.
Exactly. Those things are very like different, and I could definitely feel like the standings of that one was just like, hey, it wasn't even. So doing these qualifiers are going to make everything as even as possible. You know, and the length of this is hopefully to go until maybe the new season comes out, and with everything going around out there, it's good to have this podcast to make sure that you guys are all entertained at home while you guys are like again cooped up in your houses. So,
Stay safe.
and yeah, stay safe out there, guys, especially working as well. I know the best thing to do is like work in peace and to just listen to something. And I feel like hopefully our voices, excuse me, are very soothing to you guys, so you can listen to us on the way to work or at work or whatever. But yeah, no, I can't wait to how these guys start. But Luby, the biggest thing that we need to talk about as well is when I first brought up the topic of the rule book to these brand new teams and these original teams, whatever, for the qualifiers, some of them were surprised, some of them were happy, and some of them were very shooken by the ideas of that I had on the rule book. So let's talk about that now. Let's talk about the rule book. Let's talk about a little summary so we can tell these guys at home what they're missing pretty much.
Well, so I definitely think for me, the biggest and probably the most exciting change to me specifically, is an expanded map pool. As a caster and as someone you will hear regularly if you step into the streams, you will know and you will get to know that I love variety. I love variety, and more maps in the pool means there's a higher chance that we'll get different maps picking or chosen. Picking is not a word. Uh, chosen, stuff like that. We're adding Oregon, and instead of removing bank, we're keeping bank, but we are otherwise taking the Pro League from the map pool from Pro League. But like I said, we're not removing bank; we're leaving it in there, which I'm excited about because I always loved casting bank maps. It's such a unique map and how different it is from all the other ones. It's big, the 3 floors that you can defend the basement from the top floor or the top floor from the basement. It's just a very, very unique map. Um, so I always loved casting bank, and then the inclusion of New Oregon. I love that. The New Oregon map, if you haven't played on it because you haven't played Siege in a while or whatever, it just got revamped, and I know a lot of people were a little iffy on it because there were other maps they'd rather have seen changed. But I love the New Oregon personally. I think it's a phenomenal change. I think it's really healthy for the game. I hated Old Oregon. I know I'm sort of unique for that, but I always just hated Old Oregon. And I love this new one. So seeing that in the pool makes my life seem so much more bright. And I'm like, oh my god, we're actually gonna get different maps, not just border every 2 weeks.
Yes, that was definitely one of the biggest things that when I was making the rule book, I was like, listen, I got together with all my admins, and then the best guy there was like, of course, Drew the Legend. So when he starts listening to this, he's gonna be excited that I said his name. But Drew the Legend is our man that does literally our stats, man. He does our stats, he does all the statistics, and when I told him of the idea of, hey, I'm gonna improve and make the map pool larger and make sure that I know Pro League took away like the map bans and whatever you played last week, it's automatically banned. They took that away, and I was like, listen, we're gonna bring that back, and the only way we can bring that back is if we, you know, bring the map pool that we had in season one. In season one, we had 9 maps, and now we're gonna go back to the 9 maps, and he was amazed, happy because the fact again, like you said, Loopy, he just seeing border every week and cafe it gets tiring,
It
especially for
swapped between
casters.
cafe. It swapped between cafe and border. It was like, oh, we played border last week. Let's play cafe. Oh, we played cafe last week. Let's play border. It just was
Yeah,
mind numbing. It was mind numbing.
exactly. So now bringing these map pools, like it makes you think now. It's like, hey, everybody hated theme park, but then now theme park, like we make theme park look like, oh, theme park, yeah, I'll definitely take theme park over all the other maps. Like we're bringing back Bank, we're bringing back, like we're putting Oregon in the rotation. So now you got to think about it. Now you got to be like, hey, if I'm not practicing Oregon, I got to ban Oregon. But now that also leaves theme park in the rotation. They're like, ugh. So now it makes teams also think of their bands, and it also makes them think about, hey, maybe we should probably start practicing on these maps as well, just in case we might get them. And we got to start thinking about BO3s as well, as I said before, because starting week 4, if you don't ban the right amount of maps, Oregon might be the rotation you might fall into. So you better start doing what Loopy's doing and start practicing on it because he loves it. You got to make sure your team starts loving it because that can be like you know, a pretty good thing for you or a bad thing because you mean that you're ready and prepared for this map, or it means that maybe the other team is not ready for it. So Oregon's definitely gonna be one of the maps that we're gonna be looking into, and because it was either Oregon we bring back or we bring back Fortress, and I highly doubt that people wanted to play Fortress instead of Oregon. I personally love Fortress, but Oregon is something that teams are accustomed to. They had a whole event on it. They know exactly what they're doing on it. Everyone should know Oregon. So, and again, you play rank on it all the time. You don't play Fortress. You don't play ranked on Fortress. So, that's one of the biggest things of why Oregon was one of the biggest pinpoints of why it's coming back. And hopefully we get to see it. Fingers crossed, hopefully get to see it being played because
Absolutely. I
it'll be fun.
mean, you
It'll
never
be fun.
know because teams might still end up in a little bit of a rut. I mean, there's always going to be that preferred map. There's always going to be, and I don't even mean team to team. Teams obviously have preferred maps, but I'm not even talking about that. We might end up with a preferred map in the league. Like everyone, let's just say everyone loves New Oregon. Well, we might end up seeing a lot of Oregon, and they're always going to be that. But especially with the banning the most recent map you played automatically, we're not going to see it every week, or if we see it every week, it won't be at least by the same teams. It's gonna, there's gonna be forced variety in there, and I'm definitely excited about that because variety keeps the game fresh. It keeps the teams on their toes. Like you said, you can't just look at the map pool and go, okay, we're gonna practice these two maps or something like that. You're gonna have to look and be like, okay, we only get X amount of bans, so we can, if we choose not to play, if we choose to not practice on one of these maps or two of these maps or whatever, what have you, then you need to be prepared to give up that ban every week and be like, okay, well, we just as a team really, really hate, I don't know, bank. Let's just say I really hate bank. So as a team, you make the decision, we're always going to ban bank. We don't want to play. We're just always going to ban bank. Well, that's an okay decision, and you are welcome to make that decision. But then that means you're opening yourself up to either that new Oregon or something else that you're not used to picking, like a theme park or whatever. So all of a sudden you have to sit there and be like, okay, well, if we're gonna ban bank every week, we need to practice Oregon and theme park, which you might not have practiced before. So it's going to force teams to expand their horizons, and who knows, maybe they'll find that hidden gem. Like, holy crap! As a team, we're really, really good at theme park. We're really good at theme park. So, and because it's not a widely practiced map, you're like, okay, we're good at theme park. No one else practices it as much as we do. If we can keep getting theme park, then we're just going to run the circuit, and that can just be your map. And we've seen that already. I mean, going back to, like you said, in season one, there were teams that just Clubhouse. F6 never dropped a map of Clubhouse the entire season. Period. If Clubhouse was played, they didn't drop it. There are just gonna be, but Clubhouse wasn't played that often, and I think that helped that. So you get that map that you as a team are just so good at, and maybe it's a little bit off meta, and because you're so good at it and other teams don't practice it as much as you're just going to be able to run the field. You're just going to be able to run the field. And an expanded map pool definitely allows for more of those kinds of moments. And I think that that is one of the healthier changes that we are making in the rule book.
Yeah, and I definitely agree, and I can't wait to see how it goes out. All these maps are, when it came to, when we thought about, hey, the casters, they cast so much and they keep casting the exact same map, so let's keep the map ban automatically. Like, let's keep that, just because the fact that if we don't do that, we might see the exact same map back and forth. We see it in Pro League all the time, and I'm gonna shout out, Kickstarter and Toro all the damn time. But like, these guys cast all the time. They cast almost the exact same maps, and they even say it like, "Oh, Cafe again for the fourth time today." And then now let's say they go back into next week's event, and then again, oh, there's Cafe again. Like, it's gonna be like, oh, it's kind of just repetitive all the damn time, and it's like no new content that we can also provide for you guys at home to watching the games. And we go to YouTube's and all that stuff with the archives. We want to give you guys new things, and as well as teams as well. Again, speaking from an IGL perspective, I would love to get to see other teams' VODs on different maps so I can actually do a VOD review. I'm not going to give my team the exact same maps all the damn time, because now that means, okay, we know how these guys play on these maps for sure. But now, let's say if we go into clubhouse with these guys, we might not know what they're doing. So it gives that also that that positive vibe of, hey, and now I know more VODs, more possible. But let's not dwell too much on these map bans and map pool, which is very fascinating, of course, though. But one of the other biggest topics, of course, Loopy, and I'll even let you say it. And obviously, it starts with the letter O, so you can go ahead and start talking about that one.
All operators are allowed. No 3-month ban. The moment season 3 starts, you are going to be allowed to play whatever operator you wish, with the exception of Recruit. Rest in peace. Uh, Rest in peace, my boy Recruit. You will be missed. But yes, there are currently no bans. Period. End of story. No new operators, no lion, no nothing. No operator is taken off of the field. So you want to play, the most recent operation, back in season 2, they weren't allowed to play Callie and Wamai. They would have been allowed anyway, but hypothetically speaking, back in season 2, that means they would have been able to be played. Right now, I am so drawing a blank. We're in Yana and Oryx. Yana and
Yes.
Oryx. Got it. Jeez, there are so many operations now. So Yana and Oryx will be playable from day 1 to the last day. Well, I say that, but as admins, we have written into the rulebook, we reserve the right to ban any operator that we see fit. That is any operator. So, for example, if the clash bug comes back and we find it being rampant, and even players who we know don't do that kind of stuff, and it just happens by accident or whatever, and she just becomes broken to the point where she's just not usable, we'll ban her. Stuff like that. We reserve that right. But for the most part, and until then, we will allow all operators. And that is such an exciting change. It's going to drastically shake up the meta because, like I said, last season, we weren't allowed to play Wamai and Callie. So that being said, this season, we're basically introducing 4 new operators into the season. Callie, Wamai, Oryx, and Yana. And I don't know about your experience, Monkey, but I have found Yana specifically to be such an influential operator if you use her right.
Oh yeah,
She is
definitely
crazy
agree with that.
powerful. She is crazy powerful, and I am so excited to see what teams do with her. Um, Now, I am. This is going to be a slight topic change, but not really. Ying isn't nerfed yet on Xbox. The nerf is coming soon, but Monday starts the qualifiers. She will be allowed to be played. I know a lot of people feel she's really, really, really too strong right now. Um, but she is going to be allowed to be played, as far as I know. I haven't heard anything supporting the otherwise. Uh, so that is something that you do that these teams are going to have to kind of keep an eye out for. Just Ying being allowed to be played because all operators are on the field. I mean,
Yeah,
Ying's an older operator, so she's not really affected by that anyway. But that is something to be on the lookout for because she is really strong right now.
that's true.
Um,
And of course, not to stop you there, but at the same time, I want to give you guys an insight of what's going to be happening. Like, give you guys an insight of what's happening behind the scenes for admins. When it comes to these new updates, especially let's say we get a new operator tomorrow, let's say, right? When it comes to tomorrow, all admins are literally on pursuit of these new operators. These guys are testing they're doing we all have computers, we're obviously doing PCs, we're all rocking Siege on PC. I don't know if you do Loopy, but all the
I
other admins
don't.
definitely okay. All the other admins are definitely doing that. We're running test servers, we're doing all that stuff, just testing new operators before they release. And as soon as they release as well, before any type of league action happens, all admins are going to be rocking all the new operators just to test it out. Or literally what we have done before, especially for the Oregon patch, like before making it into the map pool, we tested out Oregon. We all got into a custom. We tested out Oregon. We're going to do exactly the same thing when it comes to these new operators. We're going to be running these new operators, testing them every way possible. Just going to be running around the course, just making sure that these guys are playable as well. And if, of course, we see it and we see something that's something that's crazy about these new operators, in that in less than literally 24 hours we'll make a notification saying, hey, these operators can be banned until further notice for the time being, and if any changes need to be occurred, we'll make sure we announce it to the public as well, so that you guys know as well on Twitter, like, hey, why are these guys not using these new operators, blah blah blah. That explains, like, we're going to give you guys an update before even the games happen, so you guys don't even have to question anything. Okay, so just give you guys that update, of course, behind the behind the call out of the admins. So you can
We
continue.
I was gonna say is you guys don't see a lot of it, but we do a lot of work for you guys. We try to make it a fun and balanced experience for everyone. No one wants to go against a release Lion. No one wants to go against a release Ella. No one wants to go against a release Blackbeard. These operators were broken from the ground up, and for the most part, the player base could see that coming miles away. And we here at Collective really try to make it not a player like we don't try to harm the players. Like if one of these operators were to be released and we just look at that and be like, oh my god, this operator has way too much utility. You can't really fight them. There's nothing you can do about them. So, yada yada yada. We are gonna hit that operator with the ban so fast. Like they're gonna maybe be in at minimum one league game, if any. Like if any. So, you know, just keep that in mind, and we do reserve that right at any time. I know that might mess with some of your plans or whatever, but that's unfortunately just how things are going to have to be run for the sake of fairness across all grounds. And the
Yeah,
moment that
and
something is fixed or they're nerfed or whatever, they'll be unbanned just as fast. They'll be
exactly.
unbanned just as fast.
Yeah, 'cause again, as soon as we ban them, doesn't mean that we're gonna stop playing them and then wait a week. No, no, that means as soon as we ban them, we're gonna keep on playing 24/7 and making sure that these guys are. We can find a way, any type of leverage. Of course, we're gonna be posting as much as we can to Rainbow Six Siege itself, trying to figure out if hey, if any change is gonna be happening. If we find any answer, then of course we'll let you guys know in the public as well. But until Ubisoft, does any changes to the operators, and of course we lift it up as soon as possible. I know Pro League is definitely going to be doing it differently. They have to wait, of course, that 3 month span, but to give these guys more entertainment, more metas, more operators, more action, more everything. That's why we're doing it. We want to entertain as much as possible for you guys at home, and the same exact thing for us just watching and casters just like bringing up new topics of hey, this new operator is being played. Like I can't wait to see how he plays out. I can't wait how she plays out. Like it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a new experience as well for season 3 that we just can't wait for. So it's just it's gonna be nonstop action. But again, we won't dwell too much and too long onto that topic as well. But new operators, new maps, as well as just different things as well is going to be happening as well. So if you guys don't know what we're gonna be doing, so when the games are streamed, we're going to be making sure that it's going to make it look as realistic as possible, similar to Pro League. So Twitch is going to be updated as well. So if you guys are familiar with the Twitch, it's going to be I don't want to spoil it, but it's going to be very hooked up. It's going to look very professional. So I can't wait for that. Casters as well. So every caster that I have so far, if these guys are veteran casters, I'm going to be trying to get the best I could with a graphic designer so they can make some graphic logos for these guys as well. So logos will be coming up, and you guys know exactly who's casting, and logos will be popping up on the Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, all that stuff, man. So you guys know who's casting, and you guys can cheer for that caster as well. And it's going to be awesome just to pitch in. So a lot of minor change is going to be happening again, but again, we want to keep it a secret and for you guys to just tune in and actually watch these differences. And of course, if you guys are brand new to the Twitch stream and all that stuff, just go back to one of our VODs, check it out, look at it, or go back to YouTube, see exactly how we did it back in the day, and then compare it to this season, and you'll be like, wow, it's a big change. It's a very big change, and I just can't wait for you guys to definitely see it happen. Definitely bring it up and just see how it goes.
No, it's definitely going to be a fun experience. I know I've been dying to cast again. It's definitely one of my favorite things to do. There are just so many different things to do about, like there's so many different things. These are players that, especially if you are in the Discord, the collective Discord, um, like the admins we're all nice people. We all like to meme, we all like to talk, When things get serious, obviously we will, but we're for the most part we're really nice people and we're here to joke and have fun and whatever. So it's just such a unique experience as a caster to be in these chats and whatever, and you get to know these people and then get to watch them play, and you're just sort of like, man, that is the fun. Like, like you'll just see someone do something stupid or something amazing, and you just got it right after the game ends. You gotta hop into Gen Chat and be like, "Yo, fam, that was amazing," or "That was hysterical." Like, it's a different experience, and casting is one of the greatest things, and we want to make the casters feel like a deeper and more connected to the community as a whole instead of just being voices. I think that's the best way to describe what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and it's just gonna be a phenomenal season. We're gonna try to bring our best. We're gonna like kind of like do a little bit of snippets, a little bit of trailers of how it's gonna look like for the qualifiers. Just give a little snippet of hey, this might what season 3 might look like. So just stay tuned. And then when you guys come back for season 3, be like, whoa, yeah, these changes are amazing, and we can't wait to see it. And it's the same thing we're gonna be doing for the podcast. Podcast is gonna keep upgrading every episode. So every time you watch a podcast, excuse me, or even just like come to listen to the podcast, you're gonna be seeing a lot of different things, a lot of different topics gonna be talking about. It's just gonna be nonstop upgrading, just for you guys at home to be less listening and just, or you guys on YouTube watching, whatever you guys are doing. It's just gonna be phenomenal all over the board. The same thing when it comes to us. We're going to try to upgrade as much as we can when it comes to updates of topics and updates for the Siege community. We're going to try to update you guys as much as possible for everything that we find out, everything that we know, you know, anything that you guys know. Again, social media. Feel free to hit us up with anything, guys. Again, all right? Anything at all. We guys are literally here. We have people watching Twitter 24/7. So anything that happens, anything that needs to be updated, anything that we need to know, we want to talk about it, we'll talk about it as well. Plus, any comments that you guys have, we'll also add it here on the podcast. I have no problem opening up the podcast and saying, hey, yeah, Loopy just wrote this on Twitter, and just say exactly what Loopy said. I have no problem doing that as soon as we open up the podcast. It'll be a hell of a job, right, Loopy?
Right. No, this podcast is going to be interesting. We're going to have some fun times here. We're going to have some fun people here. It's going to be an interesting time. The next topic I want to bring up, and I definitely know it's a hot topic. What do you personally think of the Jaeger nerf to 2-2, making him a 2 armor, 2 speed instead of a 3 speed? Because that is pretty influential in the community right now, and it's a pretty big hot button. Some people hate it, some people love it. Some people think that it's not even his last nerf. Some people think he's going to get nerfed
Yes.
even further.
Well, and if anything, we could definitely work on getting it on the screen for you guys later on if you guys are watching on YouTube. But for people that are listening, one of the biggest things that I'm going to try to like explain to you guys is the Rainbow Six chart for when it comes to operators. Um, like if you guys look at the chart for like the past like maybe like year, let's go back to a year. Jaeger has just always been like out of the charts. Like he's just been like always all by himself. He's been a very high picked operator. But the thing is about that is because he's an operator that it denies a lot. Now, bless you. What Ubisoft was definitely doing with making him a pretty much a 2 armor 2 speed. The biggest thing there is because they want to make sure that hey, his gadgets are for utility for sight. So why not? Why is he putting everything that he has to do? Like, let's say he has barbed wires, he has ADSs he has to put down, and he has to also reinforce walls. All that pretty much pertains at the end of the timer already. You have 30 seconds to do all that prep. Those seconds are completely done. Like by the time you put all your gadgets down, and then you also have to run away and roam away. No, what they want Jaeger to mainly they want him to be very close to sight or even literally in sight. His gun is so powerful already, so putting him outside of sight with that powerful gun, he can literally take out an entire team by doing that. And that's why I see it. That's why I feel like that 2 armor 2 speed was actually pretty good, just to make sure that he's pretty slow down, but at the same time, even him up to Wamai, because Wamai is also a 2 armor 2 speed, and he does almost the exact same thing as Jaeger, but again, different gun, different kind of utility build. So they want to try to make him kind of equal to him and make Wamai a little more powerful. That's another thing. Again, when you talked about the Yings, I felt like that's why they gave Ying 4 Candela charges, just because of the fact they want to try to bring Wamai and Warden back to the meta. They try to bring both of those guys up there a little bit, because Warden is just like kind of low in the standings. Of course, if you guys are looking at the stats and looking at the board that I'm talking about, Wamai and Warden are pretty low down there. And man, one of the biggest reasons is like who's gonna pick Warden? Like what does Warden do for the team at the moment that not that Valkyrie cannot do? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Pulse,
this
etc. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like you'd rather pick those guys instead of picking a Warden. And now with the Candela charges being thrown in there, it's like, oh yeah, I need a Warden. This is too toxic for me to handle. And having a Warden is gonna be like, okay, yeah, come rush me. I can see clearly what you're doing. And that's why I felt like they gave the Candela charges. And the same thing for Womai. Getting Womai can stop the Candela charges, can stop some of the stuff that utilities that Jaeger can bring. But again, Lamai has a different angle of things. He has two different jobs that Jaeger can do. Jaeger can stop multiple stuff with his ADSs, but at the same time, Lamai that can turn tide on a lot of the attackers.
You can
So
use your attacker's utility against you depending on where the Womai is.
exactly, especially with Capital. Like Capital is so strong, underrated, very underrated, but he is so strong in a way that they definitely need somebody to counter him out from time to time when he's on the board, and that's the best way to do it. Jaegers can't do it. ADS, excuse me, they can't do it. So putting his discs in certain locations could definitely stop Capital. So that's why personally feel with the Jaeger. I feel like it was actually a great ban. I know a lot of people, I know about a great ban, but I mean like a great fix. I know a lot of people are definitely going to disagree with that and like have a great debate against me with that. But I personally feel like it was a good call. Definitely a good call on that. Because if not, think about it, guys. Would have made him a 3 armor. I mean, a 3 speed, or God, please no, but a 3 armor. Say, like that would be the worst of things if they made him a 3 armor. But let's say they kept him a 3 speed, they probably would have decreased his weapon, like probably give him more recoil or give him less bullets or like
We're
less
gonna
damage. It would have been worse. So I definitely agree with the 2 armor at least. That would be
All
the
I'm
best way
saying
that
is
he came out.
probably the best meme I've seen related to the Jaeger thing was when Ubisoft gets your pick rate back on the chart and it's just like underneath it's the Jaeger being like they said it could not be done. It's like my
Yeah,
favorite meme to
exactly.
come out of it.
Exactly. Like put him back in the chart. Like he was nowhere near anywhere in the chart. Like it was ridiculous.
The
Um,
highest point he was at a 90% pick rate at one point. 90%.
exactly.
That's ridiculous.
Because remember, he was the only person that could literally stop anything like grenades, flashbangs, kill the charges. He
And
could stop, like the only person that could do that.
before Wamai, I always chalked up Jaeger's ridiculous pick rate to that. He was the only operator in the entire game that could do that job. So many other operators have alternatives. We have Hibana to the Thermite to the Maverick. Those three do very similar jobs. We have Buck, we have Jackal, and we have Sledge, who all do the job. For those who are confused about the Jackal one, Jackal has the secondary shotgun. So does uh, Gridlock. So they both, in the right situations, can replace a Buck or a Sledge. I mean, definitely not as strong, but in the right situation, they can. But all these operators sort of fulfill similar jobs. They have their strengths and their weaknesses, but they all, for the most part, fulfill the same job. Whereas Jaeger was alone. He stopped everything except Capital bolts. He stopped literally everything else. And I just think that utility was not able to be really given up. So I never thought too much about his ridiculously high pick rate. I just thought, well, he's necessary. And he's the only one who can do the job. Then they announced Wamai, and how balanced and well done Wamai is. I was like, oh, Jaeger's pick rate will drop for sure. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that his pick rate will drop. And then it didn't. Not even remotely. It went up. His pick rate went up. And
Yes, it did. It definitely did at a certain time frame.
and I was like,
Crazy.
Wamai was supposed to be the alternative to Jaeger. And if you look at that chart, Wamai is like right where Ubisoft wants him, like right in the center of those that T. Like
Yeah,
it's like
and
the
mind you, keep in mind, like that these are year 4, season 4. Like he literally just came out, and him just coming out and being as high as he is, that's an amazing standpoint of what he needs to be. Because again, when Warden came out, Warden was low, very low, because teams just didn't need him. Flashbangs were not in the meta. Grenades were. You didn't really need to stop or smoke grenades. Even like they weren't even in the meta either. Like yeah, Jackal, Gridlock, I got them, but they weren't used. And again, like I told you, Capital very underrated. So it really wasn't mandatory for Warden to do that. And then Womai, when he came out, it just you could just say you can run a Jaeger Namaz in a Wamai, and that's it. You'll be set in sight. So that's why another reason I felt like again that 2 armor 2 speed was something that needs to be done, and it needed to happen, and it was. I felt it was personally right, but not to throw the curveball though, Loopy. One of the things that affected kind of, I want to say personally me, would be the Mav. I mean, not the Mav, the Buck.
Oh my
Now,
God, Buck
yes.
losing his frag grenades. Don't even get me started. I have so many issues with that change.
So that's the thing.
So
I
many
agree
issues.
and I disagree. So let's talk about yours first. Let's talk about the disagrees. I know you have plenty of disagrees. I'll talk about the agrees.
All right. So first thing, Buck and Sledge, they have always been mirrors of each other. Well, okay, I say that. So for those of you who haven't been with this game since like release, this might shock you. Buck was not originally meant to be a hard breacher. I mean, sorry, a soft breacher. That's what he was not intended to be. Heck, even one of his first ever secondary gadgets was breaching charges. Which, if you said today, oh, let's give Buck breaching charges, you'd be like, that is the most useless thing on the planet. And it is useless. But when Buck was first released, he was meant to be a versatile fragger. He wasn't meant to be uh um he wasn't meant to be this soft breacher. He was meant to be a versatile fragger. He had the AR for long range, the AR slash DMR for long range. He had the pistol if he needed to swap, like panic swap, but he still needed range. But if someone got close to him, the shotgun was meant to be that versatility. The skeleton key was meant as a killing tool. And very quickly on, the community found other uses because of the way shotguns and siege work in general with making holes in wall. People were using the shotgun to make small holes and being able to catch people off guard. And Ubisoft looked at that chain, at how the community was using him and said, "Holy crap, this is a better use of him than just using a shotgun to kill." And Buck was changed, and that is the Buck we have today. He lost his breaching charges and gained frags because him and Sledge basically became very, very similar. And that right there is the point. Buck was given frags because without frags, Buck would never outclass Sledge. That was why he was originally given frags. Because why would you pick Buck over Sledge? Sledge's hammer was a lot more consistent. It made a bigger hole than Buck's shotgun did. Now, this is back in the day. Obviously, Buck's shotgun now is pretty comparable to Sledge's hammer, if not even bigger. But, you know, and so if Sledge had frags on top of it and Buck didn't, then there was no reason to play Buck. So when Ubisoft originally gave Buck frags, it made a lot of sense. It made them on really par with each other, and the only thing that distinguished them were their intricacies. Sledge could get through a castle and was a little bit more consistent with making holes in walls. If you needed to get really through a ceiling, but Sledge can't touch a ceiling with his hammer, so Buck was your better choice. And those smaller details is what distinguished each operator. And they've always had, to me, that perfect balance. There were situations where Sledge was better, there were situations where Buck was better, and I never felt like one ever outclassed the other, at least in my eyes. Definitely Buck got a little bit more popular, but that's just because his skeleton key was more versatile, whereas Sledge's hammer um, specialized, was more specialized. And I think that in Siege as a game, yeah, maybe the versatility is just a better choice overall, especially if you don't know exactly what site you're attacking. But Sledge still, with that, specialization, was still very, um, very prominent because there were those moments where you needed the hammer. The teams bring in castle a lot, stuff like that. And now I'm still waiting a little bit more time before I make my final decision, but I just really feel like that people are going to start gravitating more to Sledge, and we're going to see Buck go from maybe the higher picked of the two to being just outshined by Sledge in sort of every way possible. And that's at least my fear. And that's why I'm so against this change, because I think those frags really were the thing that kept them similar enough that they didn't outshine each other, but their gadgets made them unique enough that they weren't duplicates. They weren't duplicates of each other.
Yeah,
And there's
no,
also a little bit of history in there
that's
for you if you didn't know.
that's actually, yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. My agreeing part did not have that much history, so I definitely appreciate you going into detail because now you gotta make mine look like yeah, child's play. So, but the only reason why I would say that the nerf that happened to him, if you want to say a nerf, was I don't want to say needed, but I will say okay. For two reasons. Obviously, one reason is that yes, like you said, with the sledge and the buck, imagine both of these guys upstairs, a double soft breach, so a double sledging and the bucking from the top, and they have grenades. You know what I mean? So you can literally have one person throwing flashbangs from underneath, let's say, and then you can just throw grenades across the room and you'll get multiple kills probably with grenades. So that's one of the biggest things that I felt like that's one of the reasons why they did it. But the other reason, which is again, I'm gonna actually put it in a player's perspective, was what's it called? Well, let's say you're trying to buck. Let's think of Villa. Let's think that you're an Arch Studio, and you're trying to buck from underneath. When you're trying to buck from underneath, the consistent mindset of you looking around to making sure that nobody's on your flank is something that makes everyone paranoid. So, and then you'll also have another secondary person probably down there watching your flank, so it won't happen. So instead of sending another body down there, or sending a drone, or you're consistently checking your background and you're checking your surroundings, this actually works in a sense of, hey, I can finally put a claymore down. I can probably check my one of my surroundings instead of checking two of my or three or five of my surroundings. It helps me keep on bucking from underneath and keeping excuse me, from up top. I'm thinking of the cafe, trying to buck into kitchen. It helps me just sense and put a claymore so I know, okay, these guys are not going to come from behind. I don't have to worry about that. I can keep on bucking, keep on doing what I got to do. Especially they gave me more buck shots, more buck rounds, more buck what's it called surrounding of it. So I am able to finally do what I got to do without worrying so much about it. But at the same time, yeah, let's say I don't have a buck, and we don't have a sledge. That's where the grenades kind of affect a lot because I feel like personally, again, as an IGL, I really was more of a, okay, it's either you pick sledge or pick buck. Let's not have both of them. And then now it throws you into the path of, yeah, we might need both of them now just because of the nades. Or you might want to bring somebody else that has nades, you know what I mean? And that's why, with your point, we said last time, Loopy, and bringing Ayana. Ayana has grenades. So
Yana does have grenades.
that's gonna be deadly, like putting her grenades plus with the buck, you know what I mean? So it's like that's what I said before, like I agree and disagree because the grenades are very high part, but now I have to bring both of Sledge and Buck just to get the grenades out of the way. And again, if I had to choose between Sledge or Buck now, I'd rather pick Sledge just because of the fact that he can do a lot more from up top. Let's say it's a little more riskier because he has to get a little more close and personal, yes, but at the same time, I can sledge into castles. I can use my grenades for anything I need to use it. It's technically like I'm Ash, pretty much. Like I can literally do what I got to do from the castles, get those off. But it's even better because I have my hammer that can do so much more damage, literally everywhere. Um, so it's going to be crucial. So again, it's a disagree and agree because I feel like maybe his pick rate was maybe it was a little too high for their satisfaction. So they wanted to lower him down a little bit, maybe push up Sledge a little higher. So if they wanted to do that, again, applaud to them because that's definitely gonna work if
Oh,
that's
I
what they're
mean,
looking
like
for.
if that's what they're looking for, you hit a home run, and you won't I won't disagree with you. It's just to me one of those things where, if anything, make the C8 worse. Like I know that's it's awful because the C8 is, depending on who you ask, is already one of the worst ARs in the game because of the restriction of the skeleton key being your underbarrel attachment, not being able to take a grip or anything, and having to deal with the high recoil that is the C8 in general. Don't get me wrong. I understand that the CA is debatably considered one of the like not as good guns, but the people who can control the C8 really can use it. It is such a good weapon in the right hands. Has a high rate of fire, high damage, but high recoil, and that's sort of the push and pull. But on some level, if you wanted to make Buck a little bit weaker, for the reasons that you said, I feel like they could have done that in other ways. Like make his weapon worse, or maybe make his shotgun holes not quite as big. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had sometimes where the shotgun hole is like the whole wall is just gone, and I'm just sort of like, wow. Well, then
No,
that was an
it's
interesting
definitely
moment.
true. I definitely agree with that.
Like there are other ways they could have made him weaker, and the argument about a claymore, take away his flashbangs, and then every argument you made about the claymore is still valid. And honestly, I mean, I don't play Buck a ton personally. I'm much more of like a support hard breacher. My most played operator is Habana, for example. And most people know me know I'm a Habana main. But from a perspective of if Buck had claymores or a frag, I feel like that's a worthy debate. Depending on sort of what strategy you need. Are nades needed in your strategy? If not, take the claymore because then you don't have to put two people downstairs or two people upstairs or whatever. Or you don't have to check two directions, you only get to check one. Like all of that argument you made is still valid because all that trading out his claymores for his frags did is once again make his flashbangs in my eyes kind of useless. And I hate operators, and this goes for Sledge too, by the way. I actually kind of hate operators who have one dominant primary gadget and there's no reason to bring the other. There's just no reason for it. And that's sort of what I feel is in we're in a position now with both Sledge and Buck. But if you wanted to make that differentiation, make Buck, give Buck the Claymore and get rid of his flashbangs. And I actually could see a lot of people taking those Claymores over the frags, especially with, like you said, Yana has frags now. Um, oh god, a
I think
bunch of
like
operators.
Glass, yeah, Glass has
Glaz
them as
has
well.
them. Maverick has them.
Mav,
He's a hard breacher.
Jesus
Like
Christ.
there are so many frags on attack now that I could legitimately see a team that has like a Maverick as the hard breacher, a Yana, and a Buck saying, okay, Buck, we don't need your frags. We already have two sets. We don't need them. Take the Claymore. You're going to be by yourself in this room. Let's take I know Chalet is not in our map rotation, but for ranked, you're in Chalet, you go up top to buck down into kitchen. You put the claymore right on that doorway, you're gonna have some form of notification that someone's coming to push you, whether it be a gunshot to destroy the claymore, them just walking into the claymore and hey, problem solved, or them throwing an impact grenade or something for a different rotation, you get that notification. And then it becomes a debate. Okay, what's the better choice here? Claymore or frag? And I think that with the addition of all of these frags that they did with the new season, that is a viable argument. That's a viable argument, which is, I think, a weird thing to say because for the longest time, frags were so coveted that if you had access to frags, you brought them every time, no matter what. And that's unique. And I think they could have I think they could have handled the Buck change a lot differently than just, hey, we're taking away your frags, by the way.
Yeah, no, that is definitely true. It's again an argument that, again, I'm with you. I agree or disagree with that, and I'm with both sides on it. Like, because I really don't see what they were trying to do with it. Maybe again, with like I said, they want to probably get Sledge a little bit more playing time. Maybe they weren't seeing him on PC side of things. Maybe they weren't seeing him playing brought on Pro League as much as they should. So I can see that probably being changed. Because think about it, you really, if you were thinking of Pro League, you'll probably see Buck a little more than Sledge at the time. So I can see where they were trying to get that argument from. And so far we'll see how it goes, especially when when the qualifiers start. We'll see how these teams adapt to it. Maybe we'll see Buck with Claymores, or maybe we'll see more of a Sledge being brought. Um, but one of the
I
biggest
mean,
things, yes,
like
I
I said,
hope later down the road.
I
What's up?
was I guys, and I did start this whole thing by saying I am reserving my final opinion for a few months. Like I'm waiting for this to be a few months because sometimes we don't see the impact till 6 months later. I mean, for the first probably 6 to 8 months, everyone thought Frost was so overpowered with her traps, specifically her traps. Like everyone thought her traps were the most broken thing for like 8 months. And nowadays, most people say they're one of the weaker gadgets. Guess what? They were never changed. So, like, I am truly willing to give this change a few months before I finally make like this was the worst change ever kind of concept. But I just don't understand the change. I guess what I'm saying. I don't think it was a smart one, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, yeah. And I again, let's see how that time frame goes. But at the same time, looking at the clock, looking at the time, I hate to say it, but it's almost that closing time. It's almost to close it down and closing down segment. And with the closing down segment, what I'm going to start doing, and hopefully you guys are with me when I start doing this. But we're gonna be doing a question of the pretty much the week. So pretty much we're gonna be looking at your questions. So what you got, what it is. I'm gonna say the question on Twitter. We're gonna also put that up there as well, of course, and Instagram and all that other stuff. And I want to hear you guys' feedback. I want to hear what kind of answers you guys have to these questions. I can't wait to see what kind of other options and other answers that we see out there. And this segment, of course, guys, again, it's gonna be called Question of the Week. So I want to make sure you guys understand that every week at the end of the closing of this podcast of Behind the Call Out, we're gonna be pretty much answering all of your questions that you guys pretty much had on that question. It's pretty much relaying it to the, not relaying it like answering all of them, but at the same time, we're gonna pretty much tally what was the most highest response of the question. And of course, at the end again with the segment, we're gonna ask another question. And we're gonna keep it going for as long as possible, guys. So we'll see how it goes. But for this question, guys, one of the biggest questions that I want to talk about. That's why it was a good thing we didn't talk about it, because I want to make sure that you guys can answer it. Was giving grenades to Mav a good call or a bad call on Ubisoft's part? Okay, we're not gonna talk about it. I want you guys at home to discuss it right on Twitter. If you got a whole rant, if you got a whole paragraph, we'll read it all. We're gonna read it all. So do not worry. I want to hear it all. I want to make sure that you guys answer that much the question. But I'm gonna say this again: was giving Mav grenades a good call on Ubisoft part? Think of it from comp. Think of it from rank. Think about from just anything, man. All right, Mav is a very strong operator, so I can't wait to see how you guys think about what is that background that you guys have. And then Loopy, just to end it off, just give you guys a prediction. I want to make sure, Loopy, we talked about the qualifiers. We talked about these 21 teams going against each other, going head to head. I'm not going to mention everybody's team, but again, on your screen, you guys should be seeing the bracket once more again, just for the final time before we move on. I want to make sure you guys can see it, and so you guys know what we're looking at and who is going against each other. And I just want you guys at home, so if you guys are just listening to this, so we can know, again, 21 teams. We're just gonna be pretty much basing it off of just top three. So first, we're gonna talk about bracket number one. We're gonna talk about the predictions of that that matchup. So Loopy's not taking too long, but let's just talk about let's talk about Witch Doctor Gaming first. Let's talk about that matchup. You can go ahead. Like, who do you think is gonna win that? And a prediction of what score you think, personally.
So for this game, Witch Doctor versus Aviate, I do recognize both of these teams. So I definitely think it'll be a tighter match. Probably looking at like a 7-5. I'm not thinking overtime. Like I'm not. I don't think it's an overtime match. And I think it's a little bit more of a toss up of who could take it. I think it's who gets that early momentum that will take it. I think it'll be whoever gets that early momentum. So, which I think is a little bit more tied to Witch Doctor Gaming. They are a little bit more of a momentum team. So I think that's who I'm going to go with. But I do think that if AVA get that early momentum, they can take it easily.
Perfect. That's good, and we can't wait to see them. And you got any predictions of the score? Maybe 7-3, 7-2, 7-1.
Well, I was expecting like a 7-5, something close.
Okay, awesome. And of course, for the second, for the second matchup that's gonna be happening in week one, that's a Tag team and Elite Nova, I think. Yes, it's Elite Nova. So I personally, if I want to go against that one, so we're gonna take some turns, Loopy, of going against these guys. So I personally think, I haven't actually seen these guys play, but I know the players that are in both teams, and I feel like it's going to be very close as well. But at the same time, with this game, I feel like it depends about the map, and if they go to a strong map, let's say like Clubhouse or Border for these guys, then Tag Team will probably take over the demand on that and probably win it 7-4. But that's just my prediction on that one. You can go ahead and take the next one, Loopy.
So the next one we have is Extinction Gaming versus Astro. I do not know any. I do not know either of these teams explicitly, but so I don't know either of them explicitly. So just basing it off of sort of what I do know about each of the players, which I don't know all of them either. These are sort of new teams to me. I'm not saying they're new in general, but they're new to me. I'm definitely gonna go with an Astro one, but I'm not confident enough to sort of give a score. But I definitely think Astro has a little bit of the stronger roster
I mean,
from
it
the
makes
roster.
sense. Definitely fair. It makes sense. I understand. Both teams are pretty solid as well. And when you said about Astro, they might, they might. They're just based on team wise. But score, yeah, no, I can't give you a score for that one either. But yeah, the next one, going into the next bracket, if you want to say the second bracket, if you want to call it like that, there is only 2 games for that one for week 2 instead of in the first bracket we had 3 games. We're going to be going into 2 games. So for this one, for this first week, is going to be a Lunar Esports going against Bearded Dragon. So if you guys do know these teams, yes, they're familiar. They're very familiar teams. Lunar has been here since like maybe season 2 or season 1, excuse me, season 1 of the Summer Cup, I think, if I want to say it correctly. And Bearded Dragons, they haven't been here. They've been in multiple other events, but their players, they have been everywhere. And for this game, I am sadly going to be giving it to Bearded Dragons. I see Bearded Dragons probably taking this game. I'll say 7-3 or 7-4.
Mm. Now, the last game, I definitely have a little bit of a bias towards. I just love watching MMG Void play. There's just such a unique team. They're one of they're they just have some of the wackiest strategies, and I always love watching them. They're always just a lot of fun. So I definitely got to give it to them. They're playing gruesome esports, but that's definitely a little bit more of a bias on my side. I will fully admit that because I want them to sort of stay in the bracket as long as possible because they are just such a fun team to watch. But I definitely think Gruesome will put up a good fight. So I'm definitely not saying it's a blowout, but I'm expecting something like a 7-3. So it's not a blowout, but also not, not exactly the tightest game.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And one of the biggest things that I understand why the bias is there for you, because obviously you know them personally, but at the same time, MMG Void was in the Vintage League, and they went to the finals. They went to the finals versus Dark Vortex. It's just again, Dark Vortex was ahead of their time, so that's the only reason why MMG did fall there. But MMG Void does have potential to even, who knows? I'm not going to try to jinx anything, but they might even go pretty far and definitely reaching the BO3s for sure. So let's just see. Never know. Gruesome Esports is, as Loopy just said it might, if Gruesome does win that game, that's going to be a big upset for MMG Void, especially that they did make it very far in season 2. But again, this is what the qualifiers are for. This is what it is for, and this is what you're going to be seeing. You might see some teams that you favor, and then they might just turn around and say, "Yeah, not favored enough." But we'll see. We'll definitely see it. And Loopy, thank you so much for your predictions, and I can't wait to see how they roll out. And when we do record this back again and release the next podcast for you guys, hopefully next Tuesday, we'll definitely, we'll see. We'll see what happens in all the predictions, and of course, I know I written down all these predictions, so I can't wait to go back into them and see if we're right or we're wrong. And again, guys, of course, looking at the bracket, please don't be afraid. Go ahead, guys, on Twitter and all that stuff. And hopefully, you guys will do your own little polls and see who win, who loses, all that stuff. Man, I can't wait to see you guys' prediction on that as well. But that being said, this is the saddest time of the podcast, of course, and this is going to be our farewell. So, Loopy, of course, if he has anything else to say to these lovely people at home, go ahead and say it now, man.
Well, all I have to say is I can't wait to be back next week, and please tell us how much you enjoyed this, so that we know that we know that to keep doing it. Because obviously, if we don't get any sort of response back or a negative one, then we will have to cut this short. But these are so much fun to make, and I think there's so much information to share with you guys. So please let us know how much you enjoy them, because that is the way that we'll keep making them.
Again,
As
yes.
always.
I was specifically saying social media, guys. Please, social media, because if you guys don't respond to social media, then you're pretty much we're getting fired. That's technically what's gonna happen. So please, on social media, just go on, guys. Collective Esports everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Go on, even on Twitch. I don't care, man. Go on Twitch. Go in the comments. Doesn't matter. YouTube, guys. Everything. Please. Just leave your feedback. Leave everything you guys need to say to us, man, because we would love to hear. We would love to even look at it, because again, we are going to be looking at it, guys. We're not going to be the type of people that are not going to look at them, and stuff like that. We'll respond to everything you guys need to say on the next podcast and stuff like that. But this has been Monkey Man, this has been Loopy, and this has been Behind the Call Out, and just letting you guys know we're going to be behind every call out just for you guys. So stay tuned for the next episode, and keep you guys safe out there, man. Please. See you guys later.
Social distance, please.
Yes, sir.